What's up, guys? Swift here covering everything Chicago Bears. Today, the NFL made some new rule changes, and we have one Chicago Bears schedule announcement. Let's get right into it. First, the Bears will be kicking off this year's NFL preseason with the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, August 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern. The Bears will be taking on the Texans to kick off the NFL's preseason, a great decision by the NFL, especially since Devin Hester and Mongo will be getting inducted to the Hall of Fame that night. Julius Peppers will be there as well, another former Bear who spent a lot more time in Carolina. I think there's a good chance we could finally see the Bears on Hard Knocks as well. Stay tuned for that one, guys. Now let's discuss the rule changes in the NFL. I'll go over each one briefly. First off, the hip drop tackle is banned. The biggest issue with this is that the majority of people on social media don't even understand what a hip drop tackle is. Social media was full of people arguing about it yesterday and today, and since it's a rule that is open to interpretation from the refs, that will probably last all season long. Defensive players do not seem to be happy as the NFL's making it harder and harder for defenders to play the game. Almost all the rule changes in the last few years have benefited the offense, and it should lead to even more scoring in the NFL. Montez Sweat actually tweeted out his frustration about it. He said, "So the hip drop tackle is banned, but we're still letting these tight ends cut at our legs like a chainsaw?" Oh, that was interesting to see from Montez Sweat, but let's at least explain what a hip drop tackle is, since so many people are misunderstanding this. The hip drop is a very specific way to tackle people that leads to a very high rate of injury. A defensive player grabs a ball carrier around the hips, but usually then pins a portion of their lower body underneath them, and they drop their entire weight down on a guy, which takes him out from his knee or ankle. It's a devastating move that has severely injured a ton of players. It's not just tackling a guy around the waist, it's latching on and then dropping your weight onto their lower body. That's the part that leads to a lot of injuries. A lot of people don't understand that part and are just showing hip tackles. Tackling someone by the hip is not a hip drop tackle. It's the dropping your entire weight onto the guy's leg that makes it illegal. Matt Eberflus actually hit this one on the head and talked about it today and had some interesting points. He said he's been teaching pretty much the same tackle technique since 1995, called the hamstring tackle. He said he doesn't have to change or adjust anything to this new rule, and he's actually glad that the hip drop tackle is gone. He said he doesn't want to lose offensive players to injury over those kind of tackles, and since he doesn't teach them, it is better for the Bears. Great points by Eberflus, but overall, it is getting harder and harder to play defense in the NFL. You can't hit defenseless receivers. You can't touch quarterbacks. You can't use your helmet. No horse collar tackles, no hip drops. It's just getting more and more complicated for a guy to play defense, and a lot more options for the offense to get flags and extend drives, which is going to lead to more and more scoring. Now to the exciting news. The new kickoff rules have been approved. The NFL is trying to bring back kick returns. This is going to be different for anyone who's ever watched the NFL. If you watched the XFL a couple years back, you might have some familiarity with this rule. Let me explain it. This is one where you almost have to see it to understand. Guys will now line up just 5 yards away from each other, and they aren't allowed to start play until the kick lands. This will limit the full speed collisions and hopefully reduce injuries while bringing the kick return back to the NFL. The kick return has been a dead play for a long time. You watch the ball get kicked out of bounds, and guys stand around looking at it. The days of exciting returns like we all saw with Devin Hester have mostly been relegated to days of the past. This rule will attempt to change that and bring kick returns back. Let me briefly explain how it works. Kickoffs that go out of the end zone will now give teams starting position at the 30-yard line. This incentivizes teams to kick it into the landing zone. If you miss the designated landing zone or kick the ball out of bounds, that can result in the receiving team starting at their own 40-yard line. That kind of starting field position could also lead to more points being scored, as well as the potential of actually having kickoff return touchdowns come back. This will take some getting used to, as kickoffs haven't been a factor in over a decade, but I like the idea, and I also think Velus Jones Jr. could be a really good kick returner in this new format, maybe even Khalil Herbert, but this will be fun to watch for sure. Also, there's two final changes in the NFL. The NFL trade deadline was extended by 1 week. I think this could lead to even more trade deals. The deadline used to be by week 8, and now it's been pushed back to week 9. I've always thought it was a little bit early and wouldn't mind if it's even moved back another week or two, but this should be another welcome change. And then finally, the NFL also tweaked how teams can get a third challenge. In the past, coaches had to get both of their first 2 challenges correct in order to get that third challenge. Now coaches only have to get one of the first 2 challenges correct in order to receive a third one. I welcome this change as well. Always love a more fair game of football, and referees have proven inconsistencies. So overall, we have new kickoff rules. They banned hip drop tackles, they extended the trade deadline by 1 week, and they changed how coaches can receive their third challenge, making it easier on them. An interesting week in the NFL. I just wanted to update you guys on some of these changes. Obviously, the kick return one is the biggest. That's going to completely change the way NFL games look, and I think it could add more fun and excitement to the game and lead to more scoring. The other one I kind of wanted to mention and talk about for just a minute was the Chicago Bears potentially landing on Hard Knocks this year. The NFL has been interested in putting the Bears on there for multiple years now, and so far they've avoided it. But this year there's only a few teams that are eligible, and I think it just keeps getting more and more likely that the Chicago Bears could actually end up being on Hard Knocks this year. Currently, there are only 3 teams that are eligible for this season's show. That would be the Chicago Bears, the Denver Broncos, and the New Orleans Saints. The Bears have easily the biggest and most interesting storyline of those 3. They always try to get out of it, but we have an overseas game. We're going to be doing the Hall of Fame game this year. We have a new quarterback coming in. We got a lot of exciting players on the roster and a really intriguing storyline. So I just think it's definitely an option this year. Watch out for the Chicago Bears being on Hard Knocks. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on all these rule changes, though. And do you think Velus Jones Jr. can be an X factor as a kick returner? Remember to hit the like button for me, guys. Stay tuned. I have a ton more videos on the way. And until next time, bear down.